We are now moving on to our next discussion panel on digital literacy in labor market, promoting digital literacy and education, part 2. All right? To guide us through this second part of this thematic session, for the second time, we are pleased to have Ms. Havva Huseynli, Head of the International Partnership Division, the Azerbaijan Public Employment Agency, APEA, Azerbaijan. Please welcome. The stage is yours, Ms. Havva.
Well, hello again. Very nice to see you. I hope you enjoyed your lunches, as well as you are full and happy and fully motivated to actively participate and eagerly contribute to the second part of this session. The theme is still the same: digital literacy in the labor market and promoting digital literacy and education. Well, actually, during the first part of the session, we had the opportunity to listen from the professionals of the public and private sectors about their insights on the importance of the issue, to learn from their best practices, as well as to get an overview on the importance of this topic. So the main message would be, if we summarize the first part of the session, is to, first of all, we need to understand the need of the digital literacy, to assess the needs, to understand their importance, and to actively invest in the promoting the digital literacy among the people, especially in the public and private sectors. So, without any further ado, I would like to introduce the speakers of the second session. Raj Gopal, the Chief Technology Officer of the Airasia Academy. Please, Gopal Raj, the floor is yours. Well, just a brief overview about Mr. Gopal's academic and professional experience. It's really interesting that he started his professional journey at the early ages, starting from the 7 years old, by learning the C programming. And also, he completed his PhD in artificial intelligence in 2011. And then he spent the next 9 years rising up the ranks of academia. So it will be really nice to learn from your perspective on the importance of the digital literacy. So the second presenter, the second speaker of today's session is Ms. Jasmine Begum. She's the Regional Director of Legal and Government Affairs at the Microsoft ASEAN. Please, the floor is yours. Just a brief overview about Ms. Jasmine's background. Jasmine leads Microsoft Corporate External and Legal Affairs for ASEAN region, addressing issues at the intersection of technology, policy, and society in the Global South. She has more than 30 years of professional experience in this field, and she actively contributed on the development and increasing the role of the women, especially in the technology field. And we are really eager to learn from your perspective, to learn your ideas on this topic. So firstly, I'd like to give the floor to you, Mr. Gopal, to share your presentation. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Havva. In case you guys haven't noticed, Airasia Academy is confusing. What are we now? We are now outclass. Outclass who? Outclass everybody. But the reason why capital A invested in building Outclass, I'll explain a bit about what Outclass is. My topic that was kindly suggested by Farah is digital literacy in the workforce. And Outclass is the product of capital A investing in digital literacy for our all-stars, what we call our staff, okay? And it started way back in 2018 when capital A began, well, at that time, Airasia Group. You guys know what Airasia is, right? Okay, thank God. Now, very tired-looking crowd today. Very exhausted looking crowd. Oh, I need to stand up. Okay, I need to stand up to wake you folks up. All right, now at least one of us is feeling awkward and energetic. Anyway, we invested in building out class because we had to begin a digital transformation. And the fact remains that despite being a primarily airline-based business, if you look at things like fuel saving, staff optimization, engineering optimization, there are a lot of digital technologies that helped us to achieve the gains that we have over the past few years, COVID notwithstanding. Okay? We have Move now, we have Big Pay, we have a lot of digital companies, and of course, we have Outclass. I want to ask everybody a question. Do you consider education a luxury or a necessity? Necessity. So it's like water. It's like water, right? Necessity. What that means is that, what brand of water is this hotel serving? Spring Fresh, wow. I don't know how much it costs a bottle, but it's a necessity. So you can go all the way up to those very, very expensive, crazy waters where you pay like alcohol level prices, like Evian or Perrier, right? But you can also, I think in Malaysia you can drink tap water, right? Should be okay. It's clean, it's clean. I tried it, I'm fine. My kids are all right. But the idea is that it's not 100% free. You still have to pay Shabas. Anybody from Shabas here? No? Good, then I can make fun of Shabas. No. It's not 100% free, but it shouldn't cost as much as a luxury item. But what that also means is that digital literacy doesn't need to be perfect. Necessities, as the word suggests, don't need to be checked for a level of perfection because that is left for the luxury segment. It doesn't have to be the most pure water flown in from some mountain in Switzerland or anything like that. And education, especially digital education, is the answer to that. It's not just for companies. I'll give an example. How many of you are in HR, human resources? Jangan malu. Don't worry, I like making fun of HR people, but if there are enough of you here, I won't take the risk. Okay. You guys know that hiring managers are the biggest pain in the butt in the world, right? Because they will give you a very, very rudimentary job description and expect you to go and hire Superman. But you get Clark Kent, and then they're like, because your job description asked for Clark Kent, I got you what you were looking for, and they'll argue with you. And then you need to send them for additional training. You hire fresh graduates. How many of you have experience with fresh graduates, or you yourselves are fresh graduates? Hiring, yes. You look way too smart to be a fresh graduate. Not nice, but that's the truth. Most fresh graduates are terrible. Now, I'm stuck with hiring a lot of fresh graduates. Yani, sorry, Yani, where are you? Peace, Peace. But why is that? It has become acceptable for us as employers that we accept students who supposedly have good degrees and have to put them through some sort of 3-month program to get them ready for the job. I mean, would you buy a car and then they tell you it's got to be in the workshop for 3 months before you can drive it? Man, I'd ask for a refund. I can't get a refund on these guys. There is something amiss between the education sector and the employment sector. And digital literacy is not just being able to use, since Microsoft is here, I would say Microsoft Office. If Google were here, I would say Google Workspace. But it's not just the fundamental tools that they need to understand. It is using digital technology to make sure that they are ready for whatever task that they need to do before they even get employed. By right, you send out the offer letter, they report for work within 1 week at worst. They should have done their onboarding and be ready to become productive members of your organizations, right? So then we get into things like recurrent and regulatory training. How many of you are from sectors which require mandatory or regulatory certification or training? Anybody? Finance, oil and gas, construction, law. Oh, okay, I'm going to take a step back. Not law, right? I'm safe on this side. Lawyers are good when you need their help. But how do you ensure that all of this is done at a low cost? So we have Asia Digital Engineering. Asia Digital Engineering was formerly AirAsia's engineering department. It was spun off into a MRO, okay? Now, ADE have to perform, any aircraft engineers here? Anybody? Seriously? So I could say anything and you'd believe me. They need to be certified every quarter, right? And an engineer needs to hold something called a card. You need 20 cards, meaning there are 20 things that you're good at, okay? But the truth is the probability that something happens increases to about 100 cards. The 20 are the ones that you would use regularly in your day-to-day task. But we never have had the chance because you imagine pulling them off the maintenance line, sending them for the class, sending them for the certification exam, and putting them back into the class. Now, you might be wondering, but today's talk is about digital literacy. What does this have to do with them? Digital literacy and technology are used at capital A to speed up the regulatory process. So we work with the Civil Aviation Authority. Anybody from KAAM here? Civil Aviation Authority guys? Any aviation guys? Literally no. Oh, okay, so I can say anything here as well. But we use Outclass as our LMS so that the recurrent training is done digitally. So it reduced our cost down to 10%, right? So Yanni, you go to the For Business page. Now, the whole idea is you produce talent very fast, very affordably. Why affordable? Because the talent meets exactly what you need to meet. Now, have you ever heard the term MVP? Never. Who's heard the term? Who's never heard the term? And there are two definitions for the term MVP. If you're in American sports, then it's most valuable player, but we are not in American sports. It means minimum viable product, right? You guys now ring a bell? Ironically, minimum viable product means the worst product that someone will pay you for, if you think about it, right? But that's also efficient. When you're producing talent, you don't want to train them to do 1,000,000 things when you only ask them to do 10 things. Just prepare them for those 10 things. So the era of getting a degree, which prepares you for 1,000,000 things, is gone. And the modern generation are actually smart enough to know that that era is gone. You guys read in the papers how many students not only failed the SPM, they even said like, hey, I don't even want to finish the SPM. You guys read the report, right? Is there something wrong with the kids or something wrong with the education system? Yeah, they're actually very smart. They've realized that they can gain employment without finishing their formal education. Yeah, a lot of them will be giggers. So, Puan Gaya, don't worry. We will reduce the number of giggers together with Perkeso. We know it's a KPI. But apart from gig jobs, there are a lot of vocational jobs, and that is why our government is big on vocational jobs. You don't need a degree, right? But truth be told, those guys are really important to the economy of the country, right? And it is using digital technology. Look, all the digital literacy, if you're a software developer, you are a vocational worker. I'm a tech guy. But I actually feel that because you're in manufacturing. Most manufacturing jobs are vocational, right? Tech, you're just manufacturing software. It's a different thing. Your raw material is different, but it's a vocational job. You don't need a degree. We've hired so many software developers at Outclass. I've never looked at their degree. We have an exam. If you pass the exam, you're hired. End of story. Because it's skills-based. The world is skills-based now. Nobody cares about what your qualification is. So I know that I spoke a little bit differently about what you would have expected today, but digital literacy in the workforce means that you are focused primarily on skills-based qualifications which are disseminated via digital technology as much as possible. I know you can't teach welding 100% online, but at least you can forget about getting the kids to sit in lectures. Same with your staff. It's much cheaper. It will reduce the cost per hour of training in your organizations. The practical training is what you should be paying for, not sitting in a classroom. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ram Gopal, for your overview. Actually, I also do agree with you that we are moving from the era of getting degree to like improving your knowledge rather through the training sessions that are easily accessible nowadays. And it's really important for the employers to invest, to contribute to the development of the digital skills among their workers. And as a let's call me like resident graduate, like I graduated like 4 years ago, let's say, and I do agree that sometimes the courses that are taught at the universities, they are not really related to the skills that we need at work. There is really a huge gap, at least it's what I have observed. Maybe sometimes it may depend from degree to degree, but in general the case is the same. I do believe that it's the same all over the world. It's the problem of the educational system that sometimes they do not really meet the expectations of the employers. I believe that there should be the coordination between the employers and the universities as well. Thank you very much. So, and now I'd like to give the floor to Ms. Jasmine Begum for her speech, for her presentations, and we would like to hear from your point of view on the topic. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. That was very enlightening. And I am glad that I am able to agree on many areas and still provide an alternative perspective. And I agree, digital literacy has become this mantra to solve all problems for future of work, but it's still not meeting what we need to address in employability, in ensuring that we are actually producing a workforce that is industry ready. I agree that graduates have this challenge of coming out and not meeting industry demand or requirement because curriculum is not as advanced or has progressed as quickly as technology, especially in the technology industry. Okay, and technology fails me. I don't have a human to click for me, but okay, great. There. I thought it was important for us to look at some numbers. I think we are aligned. There is an explosion of innovation, and there is a demand from customers for instantaneous feedback. The feedback loop has been shortened because of technology and how people are able to provide feedback, services, and just the demand that we have all around has changed. So what we expect from our employees and how they serve our customers has also changed. The demand loop has also required us to change the way we work. And I thought it would be interesting to look at some of these numbers. 60% of the jobs that was done in 2018 had not been invented in 1940, right? I'm old enough to remember a machine where I wrote my thesis on a typewriter 30 years ago. I'm a graduate of the International Islamic University, so I had to go to this big room where there were 10 computers probably for us to be able to share. But at the end of the day, it was still good old days of typewriters where we could still write we actually had to go to a library, a physical building, look at books, turn pages, no swiping, But historically, things have remained the same. Jobs have evolved, right? And this is not a new phenomenon. And I was very interested to look at some of the facts that my fellow panelists had shared. And I can tell you this. This is what has happened. When I graduated with a law degree 30 years ago, the lifespan of my degree was 15 years, right? Do we know what's the lifespan of any degree now? Less than 15 months. And that is why there is this continuous push for us to reskill and upskill. The fact of the matter is, because of how fast the society has moved, how technology has advanced, it has also led to the shortening of the lifespan of your degrees, of whatever that you learn. And I have a bit more of interesting data, and I thought it was important for us to sort of set the stage. And just as workers are becoming comfortable with one skill, then it becomes obsolete, right? So, and I thought, and at the same time, there are giant talent gaps. 40 million global shortfall of software developers. Maybe you may know this number, but for every 3 cybersecurity roles that becomes available, we can hardly fill 1, right? So we believe in some of the work that we do, create a culture of learning, or risk losing staff, right? And I do want to quickly go through this is more of what we do in Microsoft, a learning culture that opens door to organizational growth. So let's talk about skills as the new currency. And some numbers from LinkedIn, actually. As most of you know, Microsoft owns LinkedIn. It's a subsidiary of Microsoft. And this is what we are seeing. The skills for the same job has changed about 25% since 2015. And we are seeing skills-based hiring, and this is what we see, right? 400,000 companies made a skills-first hire in 2021. And why is this important? So when we talk about reskilling, upskilling, cross-skilling, it is critical that we look at some of the areas where digital literacy, digital skilling, especially artificial intelligence, has played an important role. Earlier in May, Microsoft made a commitment to skill up 200,000 Malaysians with AI skills or AI fluency, along with our commitment to invest 2.2 billion in data center in Malaysia. And why did we commit to that? What we recognized is, as we build out these data centers, the number of jobs that get created within the ecosystem requires them to be upskilled, requires the people to be upskilled, therefore our commitment. And we do see that many of the employees are interested, and I agree, people want to learn on demand, not in classrooms. How skills are being delivered are also changing. Right people with the right skills in the right role is the future of work. And that is what today we are here for, to discuss how do we ensure that a large portion of our society are skilled right. And it would be a remiss if I do not talk about AI. As we know, it is adding 1 trillion to the ASEAN GDP. It will be adding about 115 billion to Malaysia's productivity. And this is a research that we had conducted. In June, the number of AI skilled members, 9 times larger than what was required in 2016 globally. And this is a number that we see continues to rise, that there is a demand for AI skilled talent. It's interesting that even writing a prompt, people need to be skilled up or trained up on writing a prompt. Prompt engineer was not a thing before 2023. And here we are, universities like Stanford and Columbia offering prompt engineering. What is critical is, as we think about some of these technical skills, people skills remain to be central and important. As you harness some of your digital skills, don't forget some of the other softer skills as well. AI is definitely ushering in a new era of work, whether it is at the entry level, at whichever level that you are pursuing it, there are courses that are available. And I will end with, I shared this number, unlocking the potential for Malaysia is 113.4 billion opportunity across how all of these industries that are getting impacted. With that, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Ms. Jasmine, for your presentation. It was really interesting to hear from you on the importance of the digital literacy. And what I really liked is that right people with the right skills, with the right roles are the future of work. That's really important. And skills are at the high priority for the employers nowadays, especially the soft skills. You can be with very good academic background, graduated from the so fancy universities, but if you are lacking the right soft skills, you will definitely fail at your workplace. That's why the skills in general, and especially the digital skills, are very important. Now we'd like to proceed with the questions and answers part, and I'd like to kindly ask the audience to be active, do not hesitate to ask the questions. First of all, I'd like to proceed with the audience. If they have the questions, raise your hands, please, so we can give you the microphone. Are there any questions on the topic? If not, I will just ask these questions that are coming through the digital channel. The question for Mr. Ram Gopal Raj. How do we fix or improve the mindset of parents nowadays regarding the value of the digital literacy? The awareness seems to kick in rather late, even for parents that work in the place that practices digital literacy. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay. It's a good question for me, since I have a very long and poor relationship with my father. The reason why I studied whatever I studied is because I constantly lost bets against my father. So he would call in the bet and he would tell me, son, you're going to study that. So the first one was engineering, because he said electronics would be big. He was always betting on the future. And even before that, I learned to do C programming when I was 7. I used to save up his allowance and I register myself for classes and all of this. This was way back in 1988, okay? So computers, you could kill someone with a computer. I mean, you still could, but back then you just accidentally drop it on them and they die. My father believed that technology was the future, but the way he saw it was in a very boomer sort of approach. So what I'm trying to say by this is, the truth is the parents can see reality, but it is shaped by their history as well. They know that certain jobs are going out of the window. They know that a lot of the traditional approaches are coming to the end of their usefulness. But that is the only world that they can see. So the only way for us to help society move up is to somehow give the kids, in the end, the ammunition to prove to their parents. Because in the end, daddy will always listen to his little boy or little girl, no? But you have to be able to debate with daddy. I never could, I always lost. But in the end, he was like, okay, son, I got it all wrong. But the third one, I know you do AI. AI is going to be big. You go and do your PhD in AI. I'm like, oh, geez. He was right about that, okay? But the parents actually want their kids to succeed. You guys are, a lot of you are parents, right? You want the best for your children. You want them to get to success with as short a path as possible, right? It's just that we are stuck with what we grew up with. Every generation will see the new medium as evil. I'll give you an example. In your parents' times, our time TV was evil, right? Radio was okay. You could have the radio playing the whole day, but TV was evil. Now, for our kids, online, all this is very evil, but TV is okay. You can leave the TV on the whole day. It's whatever medium we were used to, that's okay. But the new medium that came when we were growing up, no, that's bad. So we need, if you care, to start listening to our kids. Don't listen to everything. I mean, if I listen to everything my kids said, I'd be broke. No, I'm kidding. I'm already broke thanks to my wife. But really, the children need to convince the parents. That's the only way it's going to work. But we need to furnish them with the correct information. Otherwise, 90% of the children want to be what? Influencer. YouTuber, influencer. Unemployed by 30 is other word. So, there.
I agree totally. I think the feedback loop has to start at home. If we don't listen to our children, That's a challenge. I am a typical Indian mom, right? My children are, I'm a lawyer, my husband is an engineer. So guess what my son wanted to study? No, that's my daughter. My daughter's studying medicine. Guess what my son wanted to study? Music. Holy chicken, like how could that happen, right? Music, in which world? Of course, we pulled out the Quran, the Sunnah, everything, you know, all the holy books. And then I said to him, he was 7, I remember this, he was 7, and I said, you're going to study AI, whether you like it or not. He's now 26. Anyway, I said, you go do a basic degree that will put food on the table, right? You want to stand on your head and become a clown after that? I will put food on, I will educate you to do your master's on being a clown. But your first degree has to be able to feed you. He was 7, I told him he was going to study AI. He was a good boy. He went to the US to study, he was. He went begrudgingly, he hated it. He went and studied AI. And I remember leaving him in Michigan, University of Michigan, and he was crying. I think he was just happy to get rid of me because like, oh my God, I'm putting her on a plane. She cannot reach me for 30 hours. But I think he also saw some light, right? And he understood the fact that there was no way I was going to allow him to do music as a first degree. Do I regret it? Could I have done this better? Yes, for sure. Anyway, he finished, he graduated first class. He went to pursue his master's. And his master's is artificial intelligence, psychoacoustics. And he now develops gaming for children with autism, right? I had the foresight, okay, thank you. I had the foresight of AI, yes. Okay, I'm 55 years old. I'm a traditional old mom, like Indian household. You know, the 5, if you are terrible, then you become a teacher. But everything else, you become. My daughter was the straight path. 6 years old, we decided to do medicine. We are now finishing our 3rd year. No problem. It's the son. Usually that's the problem, right? Right? So here, but the fact is that it is negotiated, right? The fact he saw the mathematics of sound. He now does digital audio engineering. He was a researcher for Sony, and he is now able to do psychology, acoustics, and digital audio engineering in London. Okay, we lost a Malaysian. I don't think he'll get a job when he comes back, but if he comes back. But the point is, we need to move away, and I am the first to admit, from this traditional doctor, lawyer, engineer, gardener, you know, and all of that. And that new jobs are out there, and we need to let our children to explore, apart from being influencers. You can become an influencer once you have finished getting a job that will put food on the table. That's there is no such thing. Entrepreneurs who become influencers, I respect them. But if you think you are going to live on becoming an influencer, I wish you all the best. For the parents, please keep a room for your child.
Well, thank you. I also want to comment on this question, if I may. Actually, this is the tendency, I guess, all over the world, that parents sometimes may want to choose for their children, their future, vocation and profession. From my point of view, it's not really right, because sometimes, as you have mentioned, the parents really want good for their children, but they do not have the right to force them to follow their dreams. Maybe sometimes parents they wanted to become the doctor in their, I don't know, when they were young people, but now they are forcing their own children. We are facing such kind of things nowadays. So what I just want to share the experience from our own country, like Mr. Taurul he's the representative of the Central Career Branch, just related to the question how to raise awareness of the parents. Is I believe that's really good experience to start from schools. The role of the career centers at schools are very important. So the career counselors, they can, to raise awareness on the importance of the new jobs, on the new professions. The career counseling services may be provided not only to the pupils, but to their parents as well. That's what we are actually doing, and that's really effective. And we are witnessing that this tendency of the parents to force their children is decreasing year by year. So the next question is directed to Ms. Jasmine. What key performance indicators, KPIs, can be used to measure the effectiveness of digital literacy initiatives? How can we assess the return on investment on these programs?
The fact that you're going to measure will make people run away from doing KPIs. So I would believe in rewarding. In order for you to get promoted, for me, instead of putting a KPI, learning has to be a sport. Becoming a serial learner should be an ambition. We should all excel. It should not be something that you say, you study this, so therefore you are meeting your KPI. But rewarding it, becoming a serial learner and getting rewarded and getting promoted because of this new knowledge should work as a KPI, should work as an intrinsic way of encouraging people to do things differently. In our education system, and I'm locally educated, so I know, how many of us were encouraged to ask questions?
We don't ask questions.
Yes, precisely, right? I rest my case, right? And I don't take it you are a Malaysian. Right, so no. So we need to be able to encourage agility, boldness, and curiosity, and allow people to provide perspectives, challenge thoughts. But if we say that you need to do this and meet a KPI and move to the next level, what is stopping that person from looking for another job? Right? So to me, reward tied to being upskilled is one way to encourage people, but if you put it to a KPI and metrics, it goes back to being in school. It's like getting a mark so that I can get to the next level, right? So to me, as a nation, the culture of learning has to be a national sport. We need to all be serial learners. And I actually had an opportunity to share this thought with our national leaders to say that if we want to really do national service, let's do a national service that's focused on learning and upskilling and focus on certification so that as a nation we move up our gross national income, that people are certified. We compete with others as a workforce globally and don't need to see inward into just Malaysia. That's what I believe in.
Yes, completely agree. Thank you very much. Another question is coming to Mr. Raj Gopal. How can we bridge the digital divide to ensure equal access to digital tools for all, especially in remote or underserved areas?
Okay, good. Remote or underserved areas, now that's a tricky part because one is, do they even have the infrastructure, right? And if they have the infrastructure, it's very rudimentary. So what you can do, it's a multi-pronged approach. If I go back to using the example of water, education being like water, in the end you still need to build a pipe. There needs to be a reservoir, something to clean the water. Here's the thing, education can be affordable, but it's very difficult to be free. You know, always left and right people posting, free course here, free course there. All. Here's the thing, free water in the river, would you take your kids and dip their head inside? Here, drink up, son. It's free. Because it might be dirty. You have no idea. I mean, the guy who's posting that for free, he might be crazy. It's an extreme example, but you get where I'm coming from. It has to be filtered. It doesn't need to be super expensive, but it has to have some standards. Now, underserved. How do you help the underserved? One is you need to lower the cost of good education. Just like water. Good education need not actually end up with a paper qualification or whatnot, but that must relate directly to employment. You must. In the end, we all want good degrees for our kids because we want them to be employed, right? It's not for the sake of the degree. I mean, some people it's for the sake of the degree, because then when you go to the family party, you can say, oh, my son is studying where? Oh, very good. What's he studying? Some funny degree, I don't know. It's to show off, it's true, but we're talking about the underserved. If a person is starving, they're thirsting, right? What do they need? They need fresh, clean water to nourish them. Same with education. Bring it to them at the lowest cost, but make sure that it is of sufficient quality to ensure that they can grow up big and strong. That's it. That's how you serve the underserved. All of these things about infrastructure and all, whether you build physical schools, it's better to give them internet connectivity first and foremost. Okay? The physical infrastructure is secondary. Give them connectivity and you are giving them the world, because we are in a digital world. Then you can think about the other tools, the curriculums, the syllabus and all. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I hope so. That's why I just want to ask again to the audience, maybe if there is someone who has been encouraged by the questions and want to ask the question in person. If so, please raise your hand. If not, I will continue with the digital questions. Are there any questions from the audience? I guess no, okay.
All A-star students.
And I guess they're all shy, that's why they're... It's all because of the digital literacy. All right. Well, another question comes to, just a moment, to Ms. Jasmine. What are the key barriers to successfully implementing digital literacy programs in the labor market? And what strategies can be employed to overcome these challenges and to ensure effective adoption and widespread impact? Is the question is clear? I can repeat it.
No, it's a question to a dream question to every policymaker. I don't think it is a silver bullet, right? It's an age-old question, how do we address education? How do we address learning? How do we ensure that the curriculum is industry-ready? So there are many parts to this, but there's one thing that, what's in your control? What's not in your control, we know, policy, budget, national agenda. But what's in your control? What is it that you can learn as a person? And what is it that you can excel in or go deep in? I was speaking to another group of students this morning. Today is the World PR Day, and I was speaking to students who think their jobs are going to disappear. And I told them that we don't have enough people in communications who can do ESG or sustainability, who can do crisis communications. So we have a set of people who can do 101, but we need people who are able to specialize and go deep. And that is within your control. Yes, I agree that infrastructure is a challenge, but I would like to reframe the question is, how do we bridge the opportunity divide, right? Whatever that excess that we have, how do we now bridge the opportunity divide? How do we address some of the opportunities that are already available? I believe that it should not be just focused in cities, it should be democratized. Some of these skilling and trainings that are made available should be made available everywhere in the country, but infrastructure is a problem. How do we now get it available offline? How do we ensure that we create smart economic hubs and not just smart cities? So these are, it's not a silver bullet, right? But I would always like to see what's in my control. And what is a national agenda? What's an education curriculum? What's all other policies that has to change, which is dependent on a parliament? I can't control, except if I vote, right? But what's in my control is what are skills that are available for me to be skilled up today that makes me relevant. Lawyers today can be easily taken out by any of the AI because early drafts are done by AI tools. So how do we make a difference? To me, I'm a technophobic, so I have deep phobia for technology. Don't ask how I work for Microsoft. right? I worked for Dell, and I now work for Microsoft for 15 years. I have deep phobia for technology. So when I turned 50, I thought I will challenge myself. I took SANS 300 cybersecurity skilling. Crazy, right? It's super technical, certification. I'm a lawyer by training, don't know my binary 1 to 0 or whatever that is, but I decided that I was going to do, and the passing mark was 85%. And, you know, typical household, you go home with 85, they are not going to be happy. They're going to ask why you don't get 100. My mother lives with me, just FYI. So I did, maybe I got 2 parts of it, I got 100, but one I only got 90, and I didn't dare to go home to tell my mother. And this was when I was 50, I'm 55 now. So as I think about and reflect, today I'm sitting here, and you asked whether there are people who are in aviation. 2 years ago, there was an opportunity for us to work with the space company, which now escapes me. Microsoft had an opportunity. Yes, the Tesla fellow. Why is it? SpaceX. Not the SpaceX, the satellite, the connectivity. Oh my God. Starlink. Yes, see, Starlink. Clearly, I'm not a technology person. So, because I was the lawyer in the room in Malaysia, or in ASEAN, I was told to review some space law agreements. Guess who is not trained on space law? I'm not trained on space law, but they couldn't find another lawyer who could review it, so there I was reviewing it and trying to learn and do it. So this year I decided I'm going to study space law. Is it crazy? Yes. But if I don't challenge myself, no one else will do it for me. And it will be another certificate that I will complete. But the point is, the driver has to be you. It has to be, you know, it's so easy to blame everyone else and say that I don't have a conducive environment. At the lowest level, to me, I believe that it is within me to decide. So, inshallah, this year I will go and study space law.
Thank you very much. We are still receiving questions. I'll proceed with another question directed to Ms. Jasmine. According to your presentation, lifespan... Yep. Sorry. According to your presentation, lifespan of a degree is less than 15 months. Lifespan of skills is 3 to 5 years, if I read it right. So is the solution is constantly refreshing yourself, skills, or there's anything else that can help us in job market? That's the question addressed to you, Ms. Jasmine.
What else can we do? Is to be a serial learner. You can't stop learning. If anyone told you can stop learning, parents bluffed you. You know, you remember parents would say, oh, you just have to finish your school and you just have to finish your university. You never have to touch book. Not true. Don't believe that. You have to constantly keep learning, and you have to constantly refresh, and you have to constantly challenge yourself. Because once you stop learning, you become irrelevant. And you can't blame anyone else for that.
Yeah, we are living in a competitive world, especially the labor market, and you have to be able to withstand this competition. So learning is always the key to success. Another question is going to Mr. Raj Gopal. What advice would you give to the companies just starting their artificial intelligence journey to set themselves up for the long-term success?
Company?
Yes, if I'm not, to the companies, yes.
Okay. No, but you guys invested in them, so I don't know what to say, but we Google, so sorry. Side joke. Well, this is actually a very difficult question to answer. You want to know why? The first question is a lot of companies need to ask themselves why they're getting into AI. It's like any investment, huh? It's any investment. If you want to invest in new infrastructure, whatever it may be, physical infrastructure, new building, a new office, new connectivity, buying servers versus cloud hosting, those sort of decisions, it is the same decision-making process. It's a business decision. You need to determine, one, whether it's to improve your offering to your customer, whoever your customer may be. Is it to reduce your time to market, or is it to give you a competitive advantage? And here's the thing. If you're using an off-the-shelf AI solution, then how much of a competitive advantage, if that is in fact what you are doing, If you're using an off-the-shelf solution, what is stopping your competitors from just purchasing the same solution? Even worse if you're using an open source solution. Free. It's free, right? So anybody else can use it. So what I would say is, if your company is just starting AI, is your product AI-based? Okay, there are a lot of companies, for example, car maintenance companies, workshop, mechanic. How much is AI going to help you with your business? I don't know. Maybe you're better off buying marketing ads. Might be better. I'm sorry, you would think that an AI guy would say everything AI is good, but you have to actually see what your business function is. If it helps, then make sure that you implement it in small doses. Don't go all in. It's kind of like gambling, like you don't put all on red, right? Sorry, yeah? That's a non-halal example. Well, it's sort of like getting married on the third date. Would you do that? I did, you know. So I know, and my colleagues know that until today I'm suffering because of that. But everybody makes mistakes, right? But yes, it is a big investment. And doing something small and finding out that you've made the wrong decision is always less disastrous for your organization than doing something all in and finding out that now you got to scrap the whole thing. So I would say bits and pieces, go in phases, go in sprints, whatever your company policy is, just like a date.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Another question is going to Ms. Jasmine. What are the key considerations in Iran responsible AI, including addressing issues like transparency, bias, or ethical use of artificial intelligence?
The question is, what are the considerations?
What are the key considerations around responsible artificial intelligence, including addressing issues like transparency, bias, or ethical use?
The consideration is it's non-negotiable, right? Ethical use of responsible AI is non-negotiable. It's the only way to go. Because data has to be, so let's see. How many of us think an ethics officer, ethical AI officer will be a job now or in the future? Yes. It's not a job from science fiction. It's a job today, right? Because use cases are critical. And in order for you to ensure that AI is used in a responsible manner, we need to look at each use case. And in order to do that, you need a framework. And the framework requires to ensure privacy, security, transparency, compliance with local laws. If it's healthcare data, how do you ensure that you anonymize that data to get some information? So again, to me, responsible AI is non-negotiable, but underlying that is you need to have the correct set of data sets, clean data set. How do you collect the data? Do you have consent for the data to be used? So all of these considerations, as you think about, if you're a law student, and this is something I have provided recommendation to some local universities, and some universities have started implementing, is with the personal data protection law coming out soon, passed, I think, in Parliament. It's in Parliament, first reading. Done. Okay, yes, first reading done in Parliament. 40,000 new jobs as personal data protection officers, DPOs, will become available. So those law students, and if you need to become a certified privacy professional, CIPP, the cost is 10,000 ringgit, I think 2,500 USD. Now, if you are a law student or you are just a practitioner who enjoys privacy regulations, now you have an opportunity to go and learn and to become a privacy professional and grow your area of new career opportunity with the laws being amended. So to me, coming back to the question of responsible AI, as even we look at some of these, it's not digital skilling, right? It's a certification of privacy. So we need to be open to some of the opportunities that emerge. Yes, responsible AI is non-negotiable, but I will also push you to, encourage you to consider some of the new jobs that are coming out because of these amendments to the regulations or laws. and that actually encompass some of the work that will become part of the sphere of responsible AI, and those are new jobs, and those are new opportunities that we need to pursue. And I've spoken to company secretaries who are now considering how do they offer some of these services. So the role keeps evolving, and we need to sort of grab some of these opportunities.
Well, thank you for the answer. We have 2 more questions for you, Ms. Jasmine. Should the governmental industry players promote youth to take higher education in AI, tech-related degree, in order to get more skilled people to be employed even for non-technical jobs? Well, should the governmental industry players promote youth to take higher education in artificial intelligence and technology-related degree in order to get more skilled people to be employed even for non-technical jobs? I can paraphrase it from my own. Yeah.
I disagree with the way this entire technology thing being taught. All universities still have standalone technology, computer science, which as they should, right? Faculty. But if you are a law student or a medical student, political science, geostrategy, geopolitical, doesn't matter what you study, there's a single data, correct? The data that you would have, whether you are a law student or a medical student, the data is one single source. And if the faculty of technology stands alone, and they don't have access to your legal data or medical data, it's separate. So they do their siloed research, you do your siloed research. But there is an urgent need of intersection between medtech, legal tech, sustech. There is no such thing that it is just a standalone anymore, right? It's critical that universities grow up and come to this century, right? That they actually do not teach those in silos, that there has to be an intersection. And that's where the challenge remains. So the framing of the question fundamentally is very traditional, right? What we are proposing is that there is an opportunity for RegTech, and I do RegTech, right? That's my day job. I advise governments on intersection between regulations and policy and technology across ASEAN. And the challenge that we have, there are very few universities that have moved. UI, Universitas Indonesia is one that is, rethinking how they're teaching law. Or Atmajaya in Indonesia, or Chulalongkorn, University of Chulalongkorn in Thailand. So we need to really rethink about how it cannot be just something. Yes, you need to do your fundamentals of Python and everything else that is technical. But if you don't bring that and teach it in medicine or legal or some of these more social science, your data and everything that you learn, it is very traditional in approach.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Another question goes to Mr. Raj Gopal. Please advise on how to invest within a company that strictly requires a degree despite having all the necessary qualities except formal education.
That's the first part again, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Please advise on how to advance within a company that strictly requires the degree despite having all the necessary qualities, I mean the soft skills actually they mean while asking the question, except formal education.
Oh, okay. So employers, they usually want to outsource the risk. That's why they would say that you must have an undergraduate degree, because rather than doing the verification ourselves, I'm going to say ourselves, we trust that the university degree is sufficient verification of capability. It's kind of like a stamp for, your serum stamp. You're going to assume that the plug is not going to kill you, right, when you plug it in. You assume, because serum has checked it, you don't do your own test, right? So we assume it's the same stamp of approval that universities give to the graduates. But companies need not be forced to ignore the undergraduate degree requirement, but they can actually save a lot of money. Here's the thing, right? Any Gen Zs sitting here? Gen Z? Gen Z? Since you're all old guys, is it? Thank you. But have you noticed that they would equate their starting salary with the fact that they have a degree? Have you ever got this answer before? I have a degree, so you got to pay me 5K a month. You're like, sure or not? Yeah, I got a degree. Yeah, but I don't know whether you can do the job. So employers will find it's actually much more affordable to hire someone without the so-called formal education who can do the job. And the truth is, it does happen in a lot of vocations. I'll give you an example. Plumbing. Plumbing, your toilet is overflowing or the pipe has burst. Are you busy checking the plumber's certificate before you allow him to work? No, right? I'm sorry, I'm going to need to see your certificate and which vocational school you went from. Yeah, but your room is, I don't know, I got to check the formal education first. No, right? You want them to do the job. Employers will catch up. You cannot have legislation that forces them because we are humans. We love to fight the law. That's why we speed, right? We need a law to keep us safe from killing ourselves, called the speed limit. So, and then we'll break the speed limit and happily pay. Oh, here, so that I can risk my life again. Humans are funny creatures. But when we see someone, hey, that guy got it at a discount. Oh, everybody will be going there, it's on discount, it's on discount. The same thing will happen when employers see that they can get readily available talent at a lower price. That's how it happens. You cannot force the employers.
Yes, definitely, completely agree with you. As we are slightly approaching to an end of today's session, I would like to ask the last question because I'm afraid that we'll be run out of the time. The last question will be addressed to Ms. Jasmine. I guess some of the audiences, they just took your word that you have the technophobia. So the question is related to that. What strategies can companies implement to support the mental well-being of employers who struggle with digital overwhelm and online anxiety, which can be exacerbated by the constant need to stay up-to-date with rapidly evolving digital sphere, let's say? It's a little bit complicated question, but...
So I want to draw a distinction. I am a digital refugee, so I don't go on social media except Microsoft's LinkedIn, right? So I just want to put it out there. So I don't have a constant need for social media, so that's not. I'm on Microsoft's LinkedIn. I am on TikTok to buy Khairul Aming's sambal nyet. So I just want to declare, just in case. I have one single purpose. I want to buy sambal nyet and sambal dendeng, Khairul Aming's. So there's no other place I can buy except TikTok. So I use that to do TikTok shopping, and I'm on LinkedIn for my professional content. So how do I keep myself? So I'm very clear, again, this is just my age, I suppose. What is it that the goal that I want to achieve? I learn for myself and not anyone else. So very clear about what I want to achieve with my learning. Mostly I'm Zen because I've served in the war zone for about 7 years. I worked in a war zone, so in conflict. So it takes a lot to rattle me. So prior to Microsoft and prior to Dell, I used to serve at the United Nations Office of the Secretary General. So I served in Afghanistan, I served in Palestine, I've served in Saudi Arabia. So I was in conflict zone, negotiating with either separatists. So I negotiated Kashmir rebels, separatists. I negotiated Bangsamoro in Philippines, GAM in Aceh. So I've been in war zones, so it takes a lot to rattle me. So social media, so digital space doesn't rattle me much. Having dealt with Talibans, it takes a lot to shake me. But not everybody has that luxury. So my go-to when I feel super stressed is to step away and don't let it overwhelm you. Once something overwhelms you, it doesn't serve its purpose. To me, for me to be constantly learning is my superpower. If I don't learn, I feel demotivated. So my self-driver inside me is I need to constantly learn or else I become boring. If I become boring, I can't speak. That's my motivation. I have to be relevant. So one, I don't do social media because I find it bothers my head. There's a lot of things I don't understand. I'm also old, so I stay away. But what drives you will keep you happy and sane. So that's my response.
Well, thank you very much. We are coming to the end of today's session. I would like on my own behalf to extend my gratitude to the speakers for their valuable insights, for the provided information, and our audience for their active participation. I sincerely believe that each of you has anyhow learned from the speakers. The event has become the high added value for all of you. Now I'd like to give the floor to the MC to officially close today's session, and I hope you see you soon. So have a nice one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the moderator of the session and all the speakers for their very thoughtful presentations. At this time, we would like to present a token of our appreciation to our speakers. To help out with this, please join me to welcome Mr. Omar Jai Kumar Abdullah, Head of Employment Information Analysis and Statistics, Employment Insurance System Operator Malaysia, to join our stage to present the token of appreciation, please. To our speaker, Dr. Raj Gopal Raj. Last but not least, to Dr. Jasmine Begum. Thank you very much, Mr. Majai. And thank you once again to the moderator and our wonderful speakers for their engaging and informative presentations. Maybe we take some moments for all of you to be on stage, let the photographer to take the photos.